Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name is Keith and I'm sure glad you stopped by today. In today's video, we're going to take you step by step on how to replace the EGR valve on your 2003 to 2000 Ford Expedition 4.6 liter V8. We're also going to make available to you a Daddy DIY process guide. This is a supplemental digital document that we prepare for some of our more in-depth repairs. It's intended to be a document that you can print out, you can take to your vehicle, and you can keep notes on it. You can check boxes and track your progress as you do this repair. So you're going to get a step-by-step detailed process guide. It has a tools list, parts and supplies list, torque specs. To learn more about where you can get this product, please see the link down in the description below. If that sounds good to you, let's dive in. First step, let's use an 11mm deep socket and a ratchet to go ahead and get this engine cover off. So now with our engine cover off, we have a good look at our EGR valve. That's what you see right there. So in order to disconnect this, we're going to remove this vacuum line here at the top. We've got some bolts on both sides of this. There's one here, there's one over there. I'll give you the sizes here in a little bit. We have a mount that's going to mount right here to support the line that's going to our brake booster. That's going to have to be removed. And then we have this nut here that's going to have to come off right here below. This is what goes to your exhaust. So that's the game plan. I think we're going to be able to do this without removing this brace. So that's what we're going to try to do. So let's go ahead and get our tools and we'll be right back. So first thing, let's go ahead and get this vacuum line out the way. Set it off to the side. So we've got our vacuum line off. What I want to do next is let's get a small bungee. I've got a small bungee here. Let's get this line out the way. I don't necessarily want to disconnect it. I just want to get it out the way. So I think I'm going to take this bungee and strap it. If I can find a good place to go over here. Yeah, that's fine. So I've got our line out the way here so that doesn't sag on us. Now let's figure out what our next move is. I think I want to come and get this connector, this nut right here rather. Let's take this nut right here off. Let me get the right size for it and I'll be right back. So that nut over there that's connected that line going to the brake booster is a 10mm. So I got a 10mm deep. Let's get in here. Let's take this off. There we go. We got our nut off. I'm gonna just slide this off of here. Yep, it's off. Now this is just getting it out the way. This doesn't connect to the EGR valve. We're just kind of getting it out the way so we can work here. Yep. So we'll set it up there like that. Now let's take this and put it off to the side. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to remove this nut right here that attaches the EGR valve to the exhaust manifold. I've got a 27mm wrench here we're going to use. That nut is a 27mm. I looked in my toolbox and I did not have a 27mm. I think this is one of those odd sizes that don't come in some sets of wrench kits when you buy them, and that's the situation I was in, so I had to order this. So if you end up needing to pick up a 27mm, I'll drop a link down in the description below of what I'm going with here. So let's get this wrench on here and get this nut off. Let's make sure we rotate this thing in the right direction. We're going to be going, we need to go down. So we're going to rotate this down. So let me go ahead and get on here. On it now. 27 millimeters on it. Ooh. It ain't coming off that way. Let's see. This has to come down, right? Yep, this needs to rotate down. Let's get up a little higher on this thing. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna disconnect. I need the room. I'm gonna disconnect this brake booster line altogether because I need the room to get this off of there. So what I'm gonna do is simply disconnect this brake booster line and get this out of our way. So I've got this. What we're gonna do is just take this now and put it over to the side so we have more room to work. So now we've got that out the way. This vacuum line tucked away here. Now let's go back in here with our wrench. Okay. That's not turning. So I'm gonna get me a little small pipe and try to put a bit more torque on this. Hold on and I'll be right back. I'm gonna spray down this nut back here with some WD-40 just to try to loosen up these threads a little bit. So I'm gonna spray this nut back here. It's a little WD-40. See if we can loosen up those threads a little bit. I've got me a paper towel sitting down there so it doesn't drip onto the intake or get any weird places. So that's what I'm doing right now, spraying it down with some WD-40. See if we can loosen it up a bit. Right there. So guys, I was able to get that nut off that goes from the EGR to the exhaust valve, and let me show you what I did here, just in case you run into issues with this. I just couldn't get enough torque on here with that wrench because it's only so long. So what I did here is I put the wrench on it, and then I turned the wrench to be at somewhat of an angle to where it's still making good contact on that nut, but that I can get my breaker bar on here. And this is my breaker bar, so I can get a bit more leverage. And what this is just a old chain link fence post that I kept, and I cut down a bit and just spray painted it black, and that's what I use as a breaker bar. And it comes in handy for times like this when I just can't get enough torque on there. But once I put that on there, came in at kind of an angle, and then with that much leverage, all you have to do is put a little pressure on there and we're able to move it. So if you're having issues with that nut on the back side of that EGR valve, definitely give this a shot. Now we're ready to go ahead and let's loosen this up. So let's get our breaker bar up the way. We can come in here. Oh yeah, and just loosen this puppy up here. This is probably going to be the hardest part of this job, is just getting this nut off. when we put it back on, I think I'm going to put a little anti-seize on this nut just to make sure we don't have any issues in the future. Yeah, let's see. Spinning this off by hand now. Now we're good. So we're loose on that side. So that should just pull out of there. Let's go after this first one here. This is going to be a 10 millimeter. So that first one is a 10 millimeter. Got it off. And that one on the back side, let's see what that's going to be. It's also going to be a 10. And make sure you have a deep socket as well. Shallow one isn't going to get it done, so you got a deep. I'll tell you what, I need to put an extension on this. Here's my extension. So for this backside, just to make sure I have more clearance, I'm using an extension. So this is my 10 millimeter 3/8 with a 3/8 extension on my 3/8 Milwaukee. So that's how we're set up here. Come in on this backside. That's a bit long. That extension was a bit long, so I've got my shorter 3/8 extension, and I've got a 10 millimeter. So how we're set up now, that nut on the back, I need a bit more standoff, a bit more extension. So I have a really short 3/8 extension, my 10 millimeter socket, and I'm using my 3/8 electric Milwaukee here. Let's go ahead and zip this off. Yep, very good coming out. Do the rest by hand. And here you have that back fastener. It's off. Put it over here to the side. Now you see our EGR valve here is loose, and we can simply pull it off. So here's our prize. Here's our EGR valve right here. We've got it off. So now we need to get our mating surface prepared and ready to go. There is a gasket that's right here. I'm going to go ahead and pull this gasket off. There we go. So this is the gasket that came off with the old EGR valve. And now we need to prep this surface. There's some remnants of this gasket left over. So I need to get in here with a razor blade, and we need to clean that surface so that we can get a good seal. So here's a close-up of what that surface looks like. See, we need to get in there and we got to clean all that stuff up, all that stuff there. Get us some sandpaper or get us a little scour pad and just go in and clean all that stuff off. We don't want to put our new gasket on that crummy surface. We won't get a good seal, and we can get some leaks as well. So let's go ahead and get this clean. So I've got me a fresh razor blade here. So what I'm going to do now is go in there and just scrape off some of that old grime off that surface. And I've got a paper towel down there as well to catch any debris and stuff that comes off of there, so I don't get that in my engine. Let's get up and do this. You might not be able to see me. I apologize if I'm in the shot, but I need to get in here and just clean this up. Scrape this off here. Yeah. Don't want to go too deep. Don't want to scratch anything. Just trying to keep this blade flat here on the surface. You want a flat, clean surface when you're doing jobs like this. So you're doing something where you got to apply a gasket, water pump. Don't rush it, guys. I have done that over the years. I've learned that this is so important. I've had to go back and redo things before because I just was impatient with this process. I tried to rush it. Maybe this is clean enough. No, don't do that. Take your time. I mean, you don't have to obsess over it, but when you run your finger on this surface, it should be smooth. Should be smooth here. So I'm getting all the big stuff out the way with the blade, and then we'll come back with some sandpaper or a scouring pad. So that's that. You all probably couldn't see that, so let me give you a shot now of a close-up of what this looks like. So we've just made our first pass with the razor blade, and that's how we're looking now on that surface. Much cleaner. So let me go to the box. I'm gonna try to find a piece of sandpaper or a scouring pad and see if we can get this clean a bit more. Hold on and we'll be right back. So I'm back now. I got me a Scotch-Brite pad. This is definitely something you can pick up at the store and just keep in your box. These come in handy. Something good to have on hand in your box so you're not having to run out. But I'm gonna take my Scotch-Brite and just scrub it up a little bit. Come in here. Yeah, that feels good. That feels nice and smooth, y'all. Yeah, that feels good. Take your time. Make sure you there you go. One thing that can cause you issues with an EGR valve are clogged ports. So since I'm here and I have this exposed, I'm gonna take me just my little wire brush here. Got a little wire brush, and I'm just gonna go in here and just clean this port out a little bit. Pull out any debris, any carbon buildup or anything like that since I'm here. I'm just going in here, cleaning this port out. Yeah, and there is some buildup in there too, man. We're pulling out a bit. Oh, y'all see that? Do y'all see all that? That grime and stuff. I think this can cause that P0401 insufficient EGR flow. So this is a nice little extra step I'm gonna do here to clean this out. You guys see that? Look at all that stuff coming off of there. Man, it's good we're doing this. I think what I'm gonna do as well, I'm gonna get some throttle body cleaner and spray up in there. Got a little bit of intake cleaner here. I'm just gonna spray up in here. Yeah, spray that up in there real good. Come back with our brush. think that's good now. Tip of this paper towel, just get in here. Just gotta clean it up some. So I've gone over it with the Scotch-Brite. Now I'm gonna take my glove off and just take my finger and make sure even, because there's some spots. Some like discoloration. Oh, that's, yes, and that's a little ridge right here. I still got some spots on here. So I'm gonna get me some sandpaper and go over that a bit more. So now I'm gonna take me some 150 grit sandpaper and just see if we can knock those edges down a little bit. Oh yeah, that's it. There we go. Yep, that 150 grit did it. That's fine enough. It's not taking off too much. There we go. Let's rub our finger over it now. Oh yeah, nice and smooth. So let me give you a view of it. So after we use our razor blade, we used our Scotch-Brite, our green Scotch-Brite. I came in there with some 150 grit. And you see now we got that nice and smooth. And that's what we want when we get our gasket on there. So let's go over here now and compare the old EGR to the new EGR and get the EGR prepped. And let's get her back on here. Hold on and we'll be right back. Now let's compare our old EGR valve to our new EGR valve. Here you want to make sure that the shape, the size, the bolt holes, all those things line up. Now is the time to identify any issues with your part and get those addressed. We don't want to find out that this is the wrong part after we get it prepped, we get the gasket put on there, we get back on the vehicle. That'll just be wasting time. So make sure you compare old part to new part and resolve any issues before you proceed to the next step. So whenever I'm doing a repair like this that involves gaskets like a water pump, maybe an oil pan, I like to use the Permatech high-tack gasket sealant. And what I do is I put a thin coating on the side of the gasket that's going to be facing the part, and then I'll put that on the part itself. You don't need to put any on the side that's facing the engine, just the part. And what this does, this makes sure that the part and the gasket have good contact and it stays in place while you're trying to put your bolts through there. So this is an extra step that I like to take. So we're ready now to get our EGR valve back on here. So I mentioned to you the Permatech, and we have got it, the tacky top, the tacky side already on here. So we got our gasket on here nice. Permatech is holding on. So let's go ahead and get this on here. First thing we're going to do is get our fasteners on here. Remember, these were a 10 millimeter. So let's go ahead and get them on here and start it by hand. Thing I like to do is don't just push these through here. Kind of thread them on a little bit. Get them started. So I've got both of these bolts just started on here by hand before we get on here. always hand tight. Start by hand first, so you don't cross thread anything. That's what I'm doing. I'm going as far as I can by hand. And making sure that tube gets in there good. Yep, tube is in there. So let me bring you in for a shot just to show you how we're situated. So now I'm just showing you the EGR valve, and that we have got our fasteners hand tight. You see we got that one in the front and got the one with the stem mounted in the back. And we also have our tube going to our exhaust to make sure that's seated nicely in that hole. And I've already tested it to make sure our nut on that exhaust pipe there too will go in the fastener nicely. And before we tighten down that exhaust, I'm gonna put a little bit of anti-seize on that nut just to make sure we don't have any issues in the future. So let's go ahead and get our 10mm, and I think we're ready. I'm going little by little too when I tighten them down. Pull that one in, and I'm going to this side so we go down evenly. There we go. Come back over here to this one. Good. Yep. That's it. Come back over here. A little bit more. A little bit more. Perfect. So we've got that in there. So now I've got me a small bit of anti-seize, just enough to cover the head of this Q-tip. And I'm gonna put some on this nut back here. I don't want to put too much because I don't want to throw off the torque and things, but I'm just rubbing it down, just enough on these threads. Make me feel a little bit better about this guy coming off in the future if we ever have to go back in here and this thing not getting seized up on me and causing me some issues. So yeah, just enough to cover the head of the Q-tip, and that's going to be plenty. All right, like always, you want to first tighten by hand so we don't cross thread anything. So let's go here and make sure we're in here. There we go. Going in nice and smooth. Now, since we're in here by hand, I'm gonna get my 27mm, and let's get busy. Going up, make sure we're going in the right direction. Feels good. Now I'm gonna get me a small little piece of PVC pipe just to go the rest of the way. Get me a small little piece of PVC pipe. The torque spec on that is 30. So the torque spec on this nut back here is 30 foot-pounds. So let's go ahead and just put a little piece of like a little breaker bar on here, and just to go a little bit more, just to make sure we got it covered. So, get situated. Extend it just a little bit. There we go. So guys, this is what I was talking about. I just took my 27mm and took me a little small piece of PVC so I can go a little bit more. And this wrench worked well. This 27mm, I'll drop a link down in the description. But straight out the box, fit on there nicely, and it got the job done. So I'll definitely be storing this away in the toolbox for next time around. So now we've got our EGR valve back on. Let me just snap a picture here of what we look like with the new EGR valve in here. So now let's go ahead and make our connections. I think first thing we want to do, let's go ahead and put our line on here that was running to the back of the intake. Remember we took this off here, so let's go ahead and put this back. I'm gonna undo this now. So let's go ahead and get this stuff back situated. I think I'm gonna go after this line that's going to the brake booster. Let's go ahead and get our bungees off of here. And this line that's going back to the brake booster. Let's get it on the stem. Let's put this back on here. Oh man. Let's get it on there first and then get this hose on here. There we go. Perfect. We're on there now. Now let's go ahead and put this nut on here. Don't have to go crazy with this nut, y'all. This is a small nut, so I don't have to do too much and run the risk of stripping this. So once we make contact, I'm just going a little bit more because all this nut is doing is just holding this bracket down. So we don't need to get crazy with it. Just make contact. A little bit more, that's perfect. Last thing we want to do, take our vacuum line, it goes to the top of the EGR. So I'm just going back now, looking over my work. Vacuum line at the top, bolts on each side are tight. We tighten this down, we tighten down the pipe going to the exhaust. We're done. So last thing we want to do now is put our cover back on. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and get our cover on. Let's get this cover on here. Get our cover on here. Remember, this was what's this? 11 millimeters. 11 millimeter. Starting by hand.
Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope this video helped you out. If it did, hit that subscribe button and click that bell so anytime we drop a new video, you'll be the first to know. Hit that like button and leave me some comments. I'd love to hear from you. If you're interested in any of the products we used in today's video, we'll leave some links down below. Hope you have an awesome day, and thanks for watching.